Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining today's webinar, Managing IT, What's the Right Combo? Before I hand the presentation over to our presenters for today's session, I have a few housekeeping details to cover. First, this webinar is recorded and will be shared after today's presentation. Next, all participants have been placed in listen-only mode, but we'd love to hear from you during the session. So if you have a question for our presenters, please feel free to type it into the chat feature, which is located on the bottom left corner of your screen. We will be answering questions at the end of the session. However, if we don't get to your question during today's webinar, we will be sure to follow up with a response via email afterward. So without further delay, I'd like to kick things over by welcoming our presenter, Wade. Wade, over to you.
Thanks, Arpita. Welcome, everyone. We really appreciate you taking the time today and your busy and totally different schedules to attend this Managing IT. What is the right combo webinar? It's part of a series we're doing, part of the New World of Work series Ricoh Canada has been hosting to help educate, empower, and enable you to navigate the ever-changing technology landscape that we're facing, not only today, but we have been facing over the many years. We're all being challenged to adapt the way we communicate, the way we access and secure business critical information, and how we support a vast and increased amount of remote work that is in place today. So we hope this webinar provides some valuable information and immediate action items to assist you and your organization. I'm Wade Ball, Director of the National Sales Team for IT Services here at Ricoh. I've always had a passion for helping organizations solve their business challenges and how best to leverage the right technology at the right time. I have, through my 25 plus years in the tech industry, I've led teams to help clients navigate the many changes in technology, helping educate and empower to make smart decisions. Been part of many mergers and acquisitions along the way, so change is pretty normal for me, which has directly contributed to helping me hone my skills around managing and leading people through that change. So I'll pass it over to Arslan, who's our main presenter today. Arslan, can you please introduce yourself?
Thanks, Wade. My name is Arslan. I'm the National Sales Manager for Ricoh IT Services here in Canada. Similar to Wade, I'm very passionate about solving problems and understanding customer needs and aligning the right products or solutions or services to those needs. So I've always found IT to be one of those fields that allows me to pursue that passion. And I'm really happy to have an opportunity to talk to you guys today in regards to the current IT landscape, how that's really changed given some of the recent situations, and how we can potentially help you as a managed service provider.
Thanks, Arslan. So throughout this webinar, we will do a series of poll questions. I believe we have about 3 of them to share with you. So we're going to jump into the first one, get you moving around as much as we can with your mouse. So with so many of us working from home, trying to balance the work we need to complete and adapting to the current remote working world, interested to know what percentage of your everyday tasks are you able to fulfill under the current work from home conditions. So if you can make a choice from the selection in front of you, and we'll compile the results and share those. Looks like many are able to bridge that gap from work from home and able to do a fair bit of their workload. We'll keep this open for about another 10 or so seconds, allow everyone to make a choice. That's good. It's great to see that, I would say at least, more than 50%, most all are able to do at least 50% of what they do. Many are able to do 60%, 90% and above. So that's great. I think remote working, many organizations are prepared for it. I think the volume and capacity has been a bit of a challenge, and how you secure and everything. So it's great. Thank you. Well, Arslan, continue.
Thanks very much, Wade. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us during this webinar presentation as part of the series of webinars Ricoh is doing this month. Today, I wanted to take some time and walk you through what's really happened with the IT landscape over the last couple of months and how that's really impacted the industry, and also just briefly touch base on how we can potentially help as a managed services partner. So we're going to start the presentation, talk about just understanding the remote workspace and what's required to be able to do what you need to do remotely. We're going to look at the new IT landscape, how that's changed over the last couple of months, why you really need to start with strategy when it comes to your IT, and how you can leverage strategy to right-size your IT infrastructure. Then we're going to talk about support solutions for the remote workspace, how we can potentially help as a managed services partner, how you can integrate IT support into your business regardless of the size of the organization, and then what your next steps should be if you require any help in regards to these matters. So understanding the remote workspace today. I think you would all agree that almost all businesses today are operating very differently than they usually do. State of emergency in many states or provinces has forced businesses to close down their office or place of operation. Travel disruptions are preventing face-to-face meetings. And in response to the whole uncertainty presented by COVID-19, many companies have been forced to ask their employees to work remotely. We're all being challenged to adapt the way we communicate, the way we access or secure business critical information. So the question I like to ask our business partners or any of our clients today is, are you ready to support your customers? How are your employees able to do what they need to do to perform their day-to-day tasks? Do you have the right remote collaboration? You have the right process automation or IT support in place that allows your employees to continue what you need to do, and the business can continue to do what it needs to do in order to maintain itself. I want to take a step back and just talk about the new IT landscape and how that might have changed over the last little while. We all live in a world where everything changes fast, especially when it comes to technology. What I'll tell you today during this webinar can be completely irrelevant in the next couple of years. Technology investments such as artificial intelligence, virtual reality, big data, IoT, 5G, all these big terms you constantly hear over and over are really defining how we live our lives today and how we conduct business. If you look at some of the published reports by Gartner or IDG in 2019 or 2018, the most common challenges for IT leaders have usually been the same. It's things like adoption of cloud, lack of skill sets, security. My favorite one, digital transformation. And what's interesting is when you speak to a lot of these IT stakeholders and businesses, regardless of the size of the business, many of them are so behind with their digital transformation strategies. And what's interesting now is, and I think you would all agree, that the whole COVID-19 situation has completely changed that. We're all fast-tracking our digital transformation journey to make sure we can keep up with the needs of the business and really keep the business operational. As businesses rely more on technology to augment their operations and deliver services to their clients, obviously the demand on the IT team is also significantly increasing. I was reading an article on CIO.com the other day, and it talked about the top 10 most in-demand tech jobs for 2020. And I was really surprised to see that these are still things like help desk, desktop support technician, system admin, network admin. It just goes to show you how much more demand is there for these type of roles, because businesses are putting a lot more demand on their internal IT departments. And we're seeing that IT departments are constantly struggling to be able to fulfill the demands of the business when it comes to IT support. And really what's interesting is when it comes to providing that proper support to employees, many of these IT departments are actually failing because they either don't have enough budget or resources to support all those needs. As you can see here, based on the survey results published by Sitecore, things like modernizing H technology or offering a true 24/7 help desk service are still some of the top obstacles for IT departments. Although those things still continue to be an obstacle for IT people, we've seen a number of new obstacles that have emerged over the last couple of months. And I think the number one obstacle has been supporting the remote worker, making sure the employees have the right tools and the right technologies to be able to do their day-to-day. With that, obviously, comes other challenges, things like leveraging cloud migration and cloud-based applications that can also enable us to do what we need to do. It's things like scaling our infrastructure. Is it ready and can it handle, the 100% workforce remote capability? And then when you wrap it all together, it really ties into having a proper business continuity plan. Does your business have the proper business continuity plan to support its employees and make sure the operations continue the way they should be for the business to maintain itself? I want to take a step back and just talk about strategy. This is one of my favorite topics to talk to our clients about when we talk about IT and how we can potentially support them as a managed services provider. I think every one of you would agree that in business today, it's no longer about keeping up, but it's about staying ahead. Technology has really become a strategic contributor to every function of a business, whether it's your finance department, whether it's operations, sales, marketing, HR, logistics, you name it. Technology has really transformed the way work gets done. Technology and IT now play a fundamental role as a partner in the business, working in concert with other stakeholders to achieve strategic goals and direction. And what's going to happen when that's the case, the expanding role of IT comes with a lot of increased risk, complexity, and management that requires more sophisticated support than ever before. Why is strategy important when it comes to IT? Let's take a step back and just understand what's strategy and why that's important to a business to begin with. So a business strategy, in simple terms, is a documented plan on how an organization is setting out to achieve their goals. A business strategy contains a number of key principles that outline how a company will go about attaining those goals. For example, it might explain how to deal with your competitors, how to look at the needs and expectations of your customers, or it will examine the long-term growth and sustainability of your organization. So it is really important for a business to have a proper strategy in order to succeed. As important as it is for a business to have a strategy plan, it's also important for IT to have a strategy plan and make sure that plan aligns with the overall business goals and objectives. This is usually referred to an IT roadmap in our industry. So we already talked about the one thing you can count on is change. Those of us who best are prepared for change can leverage change to our advantage. Those of us who are not prepared for change or don't adapt to it are destined to fail. And my perfect example that I always like to use is Blockbuster. Think of Blockbuster Video and Netflix. Netflix always had its eye towards the future, and they predicted that streaming video was the correct direction for video rentals. Blockbuster, however, thought that the in-store experience of renting videos is the future. Now, I'm not saying the strategic plan would have saved Blockbuster. However, the lack of thinking about the future and preparing for it definitely did. So strategic planning does encourage us to think, and it's one of the several ways we can do our best to ensure that organizations remain successful. Furthermore, the strategic plan also allows us to be better prepared for unexpected change. For those of you who might work in the business, in the IT department of your business, How many times have you experienced a system outage or problem just before a long weekend and you ended up having to work late to make sure things are back up and running? Believe it or not, but having a strategic plan can help businesses address emergencies, and we're all living in a state of emergency today. The other thing I also like to point out on why strategy is important is because many organizations have seen a rise in shadow IT in recent years. For those of you who are not familiar with the term shadow IT, it's an IT function or application that's been created by individual units in a company and is not really affiliated with the official or central IT department. Shadow IT evolves in organizations oftentimes because IT departments are not agile enough or are not meeting the needs of the smaller departments in those larger corporations. The strategic plan can allow an organization to discover why shadow IT exists and incorporate that need into the overall goal of the business. Earlier today, we also talked about how IT has taken an increasingly integral role in the way all other parts of the company operate. So when it comes to IT putting together a strategic plan, it must not only chart its own path, but chart the path of every other department along with it. IT departments need to understand the business needs from bottom up in order to put together the right strategy plan or roadmap. For example, if marketing and sales is handling an increased amount of customer data, IT can start planning for how they will handle that by either increasing data storage on site, considering the cloud and moving their storage to the cloud, or boosting the capabilities of the data analytics team. If these sort of data storage and analysis faculties are found to be lacking, then plans can be made to either shore them up internally or to look for an outside IT consultant that the task can be outsourced to. When it comes to us at Ricoh IT Services, we also take the same bottom-up approach. And this is what we've developed over the last 30 years, and we call boring IT. Our boring IT is basically us trying to achieve 4 things for you. We want to make your IT predictable. We want to make your IT reliable. We want to make your IT stress-free. And lastly, make it secure. For you guys, as people leveraging the tools in your day-to-day job, you want to simply plug something in and make sure it works. And that's the same approach we take when it comes to helping our customers. How electricity is delivered to you as a consumer is not your concern. You don't want to worry about how that electricity is delivered to you. You don't want to worry about what's behind the plug. Those are all the different layers that Ricoh IT Services can come in and help you with, whether it's supporting your end users on a 24/7 basis, whether it's building the different blocks of your infrastructure, your network, your cloud, and making sure those are all secure, all the way up to the IT management strategy level. If you don't have those resources in-house, those are all the different areas we can assist with. For you guys, as the business stakeholders or the IT stakeholders, you need to be focused on applications, data, and processes, because ultimately those are what are generating revenue for your business. Now, you might be thinking, I don't have an IT strategy or roadmap, or you might be thinking, I have one, but I need help revamping it. We have helped many organizations develop this IT roadmap and making sure that it aligns with their business goals and needs. We can also help you revamp your current IT roadmap. Our process always starts with the business stakeholder interviews. This is very important because we always want to understand the business goals and strategies before we dive into the IT portion or the technology portion of your business. Once we have a better understanding of the business needs, we will then perform an assessment of your current IT infrastructure and network. Once that assessment is complete, one of our virtual CIOs will do a gap analysis between your business needs and your current IT infrastructure. And then that's when we will define the proper strategy for your IT that ultimately turns into your IT roadmap. Now, keep in mind, this IT roadmap is a working document between your business and your IT. It's something that's going to be frequently visited, so projects and technology investments can be identified and prioritized to ensure that IT is keeping up with the business growth, strategy, and demands. I'm going to pass this back to Wade again. We're going to do another poll question, and then we'll come back to the presentation again.
No, thanks, Arslan. Some great insights and information. I think we all understand technology is truly an essential service today, or utility that needs to be always on, anytime, anywhere, from any device to help power the business. So it's great stuff. So we'll shift into this question. With so many remote workers to manage, which areas do your remote workers need help with today? Now, in your choices with this poll question, you can choose 1, 2, 3, or all. So you can make multiple choices here. So keep that in mind as you make your selections. It's tough. All of these are quite important. Maybe today 1 or 2 are more important than all of them. We'll give it another 5 or 10 seconds to finish making your selections. That's great. I think most people, all of these are important. Many have selected all of the above for what do they need help with. I think the hard part is prioritizing and investing in the right items at the right time to help support what's required. So hopefully we keep covering topics and items that assist you with this. All right, Arslan, continue on.
Thanks, Wade. So we already talked about the current IT landscape. We talked about why strategy is important when it comes to your IT. Now, some of you might be wondering, what is the best way to right-size your IT infrastructure? How do I pick the right technology or solutions that can help my business needs? If I haven't said it enough, then I'll say it one more time. Strategy, strategy, strategy. Always start with strategy. Policy helps drive process and behavior. Once you have your IT strategy defined, then you can start looking at your current infrastructure. Don't just go and invest a whole lot of money into upgrading everything, thinking by doing so, you're going to meet your business requirements. When it comes to assessing your current infrastructure, I've got 3 recommendations for you. Number 1, optimize. Make the best or most effective use of what you currently have. Just because something is a few years old, it doesn't mean it's no good or can't be used anymore. Number 2, maximize. Do more with less. Take advantage of tools and automation wherever possible. And then number 3, which is my favorite, consumerize. Your end users are going to drive a lot of behavior. Give them the tools they need to do their job. Consider BYOD. Consider the cloud. In 2005, Gartner pronounced consumerization the most significant trend affecting IT in the next 10 years. And I couldn't agree more. We still continue to see this as a major trend when it comes to IT. Millennials have really changed the way employees conduct work today. They demand the right tools and technologies to be able to get things done quicker and more efficiently. So always consider consumerization. And if you need help assessing your infrastructure, we're here to help. We have a number of services, whether it's got to do with your current infrastructure or your network to make sure it meets the business requirements or needs to be changed, whether it's assessing your security posture, things like vulnerability assessments, penetration testing, social engineering, things like employee education campaigns to make sure your employees are aware of the latest risks and threats that are out there in the IT landscape. Maybe you want to start looking at leveraging cloud-based technologies. We've got the right tools and services to help you understand your business needs, do a cloud readiness assessment, and then help you with that transition when the right time comes. Now I'm going to shift it a little bit over to support solutions for the remote workspace and how some of our services can help you with these. Again, we've got a number of different dedicated teams that are able to provide you with services in different areas. If you need help with your infrastructure, we've got teams of architects and professional services resources that can assist you with these type of projects. If it's network related, we've got dedicated network resources from professional services delivery people all the way to architects that can help you with your network project requirements. Maybe you're looking for help with your help desk services. Ricoh IT Services can offer you true 24/7 quadlingual help desk service. And this is something that's highly scalable. Whether you're an organization with 50 employees or 5,000 employees, our packages can be tailored to meet your specific needs with both remote and on-site requirements. Now, you might be thinking, these services are all great and they sound amazing, but how do I integrate them into my business? You've got nothing to worry about. We're here to help. The way we want to do this is let's start with understanding your goals and needs as a business first. Again, strategy is very important. Our roadmap first approach with every new client will ensure we get a good understanding of your business needs before evaluating the current technology and making recommendations on future investments. Our goal is always to leverage as much of the existing technology and processes to maintain your business continuity plan. When it comes to investing in new technologies, I got a couple of tips for you. First thing first, cloud computing is a no-brainer in today's business world. It offers enhanced security and stability while helping you with elasticity on your spending. You pay for what you use rather than spending a whole lot of capital money upfront. Gartner predicts that the global public cloud service market is projected to reach $226 billion this year, and that's just the spending in the public cloud space. Many of you already know that Microsoft and Amazon have been dominating this public cloud services space, and some of you might have already seen the news this week that Alibaba has decided to invest over $28 billion in building their public cloud service. That is proof to show you how more businesses are taking the cloud-first approach and adopting cloud-based technology to meet their business needs. So really what I'm saying is, regardless if cloud services are the right choice for your business or not, always have the mentality to consider cloud-based services because that is the future. My second recommendation is make use of subscription services or as-a-service offerings. There are countless number of as-a-service offerings in the marketplace. You hear terms like platform as a service, infrastructure as a service, software as a service. At Ricoh IT Services, we've got a number of as-a-service offerings as well. Whether you're looking for something like backup as a service, developed leveraging some of the industry-leading products and solutions, or things like security as a service around your firewall and your network, endpoint protection as a service, email protection as a service, security training as a service. Those are all different packages and different solutions that Ricoh IT Services has available for you that you can take advantage of. That pretty much wraps up my presentation for the day. I'm going to pass it back to Wade. We've got a couple more poll questions for you, and then we'll open it up to a Q&A. Thank you.
Thanks, Arslan. So we'll shift over now to our next poll question to assist with getting more feedback and input. So with so many existing and new initiatives your organization is facing today, we'd like to better understand your main priority. So what are your organization's most pressing IT needs within the remote workspace? Again, you can choose more than one option here. So please make your selection or selections focused on what's most pressing today. the security and remote access at the top. Definitely some complementary items here. We'll give it 5 or 10 more seconds. That's great. You know, IT security doesn't go away. Cybersecurity is so important. And security should be wrapped around anything you do, essentially, on always monitoring and enhancing it. Remote access solutions, again, Arslan's mentioned many people have remote access, but now they have to mature their level of remote access to manage the scale of capacity. So, no, good feedback. Definitely appreciate all the information. So I'm going to just shift over to some next steps. You know, there's a lot of valuable information in many areas to focus that have been presented here. So you may be already working on some of these, or you're planning to action many of these. And the goal is to really figure out, where do I go from here if I don't have a plan? Arslan said it a few times that having a plan is pretty important. You know, this current pandemic has really sped up the need for all businesses to transform now, not later. And it revolves around, again, your people, the processes, and the technologies needed to support your business and your customers. So you need to examine and understand all of the IT support options and models available to you, because there are many, from consulting and planning to cloud-based solutions to device and endpoint monitoring and management and user support. You just need to understand what's available to you, understand how it's being supported today, and what your options are moving forward. You really need to assess your current environment and completely understand your current state, the risks, and uncover the gaps that need to be addressed. Today, many organizations are having to reassess their now current environment based on all the remote worker changes in this last month. So their new current state of technology is greatly changed. You need to understand where you're at to know where those gaps are. You need to build the strategy. So you need to understand where you're at, where you're going. And you need a plan that aligns with maybe the shorter term 3 to 6 months or longer term 18 to 24 months business plan that you have. I think many organizations are having to do a shorter term plan right now to address the current state and then get back to that longer term plan as business gets back to the new normal. Your IT plan should list the initiatives, the timelines, and really importantly, the budget to help prioritize an action in a phased and ongoing approach. Find the right solutions and services to implement, augment, and complement your business needs, your applications, your end users, and your customers. Leverage partners to help complete the work you are not an expert at. You need to focus on the work you get paid for, work with others to fill in the voids. Be diligent in the monitoring and management of your critical infrastructure. Know which assets you are managing and securing. You need to maintain a line of sight, not just into your physical assets, but also in the pay-per-use items that you've implemented, whether that's cloud-based services, licenses, or usage you've invested in. And then adopt and implement the right strategy for today and the near future. Again, Arslan's highlighted it many times in this webinar. You need a strategic IT plan. You need to have a plan. You need to take action and manage to that plan. And just make sure you take the necessary steps to own and be accountable for your IT planning, decisions, management, security, and the support for success. Ricoh transforms the way people work with technologies that help businesses innovate and grow. Today, that means empowering digital workplaces with many of our broad portfolio services, solutions, and technology. We've transformed as a company over the last many years to ensure we're bringing the right technologies forward at the right time to help you invest at the right time. Our experience on these topics today come from that breadth and depth of our organization and experience that we have. Ricoh Canada locally, provincially, nationally, and globally helps provide technology, solution support, and services for millions of organizations. We have the local presence and national reach to help support the technologies within your organization. So again, if you haven't heard it from us before, we do offer many services and solutions, from business consulting and strategic planning to communication and collaboration services, content management and workflow to help secure and digitize valuable information governance to make sure confidential data stays safe and secure and available, business process services to securely capture and index and route your content with digital workflows, manage print, we still do it, we help you manage costs and help you save energy and on page volumes, IT support solutions that we've talked about today, and the intelligent devices we all use to help us all. So we hope this webinar has provided some valuable information to educate, empower, and enable you to address and action your organization key priorities. I hope you're able to take a few key items from this webinar. A reminder that this is one of a series that we've been hosting. There are 2 more next week, so we hope that you can attend those if they're relevant. If you've missed any of the past webinars, they are available on demand to replay. So we'll move into the Q&A section of the webinar. I'll leave you with a bit of a quote from an American futurist, but very relevant. So Arpita, I'll pass it back to you for the Q&A portion.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Wade and Arslan. We are now opening up the Q&A session, so please feel free to type your questions into the chat box on the bottom left corner of your screen if you've not already done so during the session. And since I see that a few questions have come in during the session, I'm just going to get right into them. So here's a question for you, Wade. It says that this person's IT manager is responsible for the IT management and support within their organization, and he's having a hard time keeping up with everything that is going on in terms of supporting the end users, especially since they're almost all now working remotely. So the question is, where is the best place to start in terms of understanding how Ricoh can help them?
Yeah, I feel for IT managers. They're the ones that have to help bring it all together, both reporting up on sort of where you're at, and then managing a budget for the initiatives, and then supporting all the end users and possibly even customers as it relates to using the technology. IT managers have always been limited on a few key things: money, the investment in technology, time. They never seem to have the time and skill set. As Arslan went through a whole bunch of different areas today, it's broad, it can get deep. There's no one person or few people that can know it all. So it really is understanding where you're at. And it is looking at your short-term plan. What are the key initiatives? There needs to be an understanding of where the gaps are, and then implementing the right help and support to tackle the most pressing or prioritized items to ensure, again, either that you're able to meet the volumes and demands of your customers and needs of your end users, or that you're helping mitigate risk within the environment. So with most IT managers, they all have different skill sets. They all have a different method of what's been deployed, how it's been deployed, how it's been supported. Most of the time it's a conversation with them, and okay, lay it on the table. Where are you at? Where do you need the most help? And how do we assist the IT manager to present the right information from being the experts in a variety of different areas to help them get either the investment or the help and support that's required?
All right, perfect. Thank you so much, Wade. Arslan, this next question has come in for you, I think. Is there a way to set up an IT help desk support service virtually because of the current environment?
Yes, that's absolutely possible. Throughout further discovery, leveraging our technical teams, we can certainly find a way where we could try and gain remote access to your environment and deploy our help desk and infrastructure management tools remotely, so we can provide that end user support. So depending on how your current setup is, that's absolutely a possibility.
All right, great, awesome. This one, again, is for you, Arslan. The question is that this organization already has a detailed disaster recovery plan in place, and this was frequently updated before the COVID-19 virus impacted. However, the business has not been able to operate as usual, even so. So the question is, what did we do wrong?
That's a great question, and what I like to point out is it's fantastic to have a great disaster recovery plan, but in this case, where I think the business failed was not having an adequate business continuity plan. And those two are completely different things. And the example I like to use is disaster recovery is great to have in place in terms of a natural disaster, a fire, or a flood, where you want to make sure you do have access to your data, you have secondary copies or backups in case one location loses everything that it has. Whereas business continuity plan is more around how does the business continue to operate in case of an issue or a problem. In this case, we've been hit with the COVID-19 situation. Did we plan for a scenario like this where we won't be able to go to the office and we all need to work remotely? So having both of those as separate documents and separate strategy plans is both highly crucial for every business.
Wow, so that's definitely a distinction to make. Thank you, Arslan. So I have another question here for you, Wade. Based on all the recent events, the company has, so the question is that based on all the recent events, this organization has actually seen a slowdown, and they are not sure when they will be back to business as usual. So the question is, can Ricoh help me cut some costs and expenses around my technology?
Yeah, it's obviously a common theme right now in organizations who are trying to, many trying to survive through these times. Others are trying to pause operations and get back to it when new normal comes around. It's a tough answer in the fact that everybody's set up differently. And it's really assessing what technologies have been deployed and what within that can be modified or turned down, turned off to assist. Those that are running cloud-based services have the advantage where they're able to potentially turn off applications, turn off servers, and save that monthly cost on their usage. They're able to pause different items based on how they have set up their infrastructure, their network, their security. There are others that will just need to understand what needs to be available for their end users or their customers, and within those, which areas can be adjusted. For some, it's been tough. IT and technology, as I mentioned earlier, essential service. It's a utility. It doesn't really matter if you're doing 50 invoices in a month or you're doing 5,000. A lot of that technology needs to be running, especially if you built an in-house technology with physical servers or you've got some hybrid solutions where there's a little bit of cloud. You don't have as many options, and I think this is a time where you can really understand where you can adjust your demand or your usage based on more of an on-demand as needed model through times like this.
All right, thank you so much for that, Wade. Lots of things to consider while we're building out an IT roadmap and strategy. That's all the time that we have for question and answers today. Thank you everyone for attending. Please do look out for the email with the recording for this webinar, which will be sent to you tomorrow. Do take a couple of minutes to complete the survey that will pop up once we end this session. Your feedback is very important to us, and it does help us to continuously address any challenges that you're currently facing in your business. Stay safe and have a good day ahead. Thank you, everyone.